Well, hello, everyone. I don't have a fancy intro today, and I don't have a fancy intro today, but I just want to kind of talk to you all from my heart. And I'm not sure as why I am a little emotional right now because I was really cool um, 20 minutes ago, and uh, I didn't have a title for the show other than, conversations with CaSaundra. And now I feel like I want to add. I want to add a. I want to add a title to this show. So um, here it is. And if you're watching for the first time, welcome to the CaSaundra Jolliff Show. I am your host and creator and founder of CaSaundra Jolliff Show, where in this show it is based on purpose, faith, um, entrepreneurship, and lifestyle. And I can say probably for the most part, these last few months have been more geared towards purpose. And speaking of purpose, um, Juneteenth is a celebration and a holiday, and now clearly a holiday that will be well recognized. I'm reflecting. Um, I didn't know a lot about Juneteenth growing up as a child. I think I've heard of it when I was in high school around Black History Month, and then I was made aware of it again in my 30s. And by me living in Illinois at that time, I just didn't have a lot of background on it. And now I'm here living in Texas, particularly Dallas area, and I'm reflecting about Freedom Day. So with everything that's happening in a nation today, where there's this birthing of freedom, another kind of freedom that is taking place, um, other people from different walks of life that look differently than us by the color of our skin tone are banding together for a cause to help eradicate racism in the United States of America. And I know that it's a tall order because the country belonged to a free people, Native Americans. And coming up, they taught us that to call them Indians. And then we had to get re-educated by Native Americans to say, no, we're Native American, which I have such a high regard and a heart for Native Americans. So this show is going to be a little different because I don't have a script and I don't have a step plan. I'm just speaking from my heart today. And I'm talking about some things that we can no longer just scurry around and hit it and quit it and get on it and then get off of it. When I think about Black Lives Matter, and I'm not talking about the organization of Black Lives Matter, I'm talking about Black Lives Matter in terms of individuals. We do matter. And I believe that all lives matter. Absolutely. But I've always wondered, particularly, how, what is it about Black people that, this is my words, and particularly about Black men, that the world is afraid of. That will be addressed next week. But I want to, when I'm looking at how God strategically places you in a city, in a town, in a state, and you don't recognize why, you're here. And I'm speaking about myself. So you're probably thinking, CaSaundra, you mean tell me this show is about you? Well, today it is. Today is about me. Hopefully it'll impact you about you too. That's the goal, for you to have the dialogue and the conversation today. But I need to talk today. I need to talk today with you. I grew up in Alton, Illinois, born December 7th, 1969. And I believe that numbers hold a symbolic meaning, particularly a biblical aspect of meaning. 12 representing governmental order, according to God. 7 being God's perfect number. And 1969, as it relates to that, 1969 was a year of very much a considerable amount of unrest. A war year, a warring year. Lots of happening during that year. 1969 just was a pivotal change to an era. And then when I think about what December 7th represents as it relates to Pearl Harbor, a war day on American soil with the Japanese landing on Pearl Harbor and bombing that, I always wondered why I would be born on a day like that, because I thought it was kind of cool day, but I didn't realize the significance and the history behind it. Please excuse me as I utilize my Kleenex. I'm going to try to do this tactfully, so hold on. Best I can do. And when I think about, God, how you strategically put me in places that I didn't even, there's 3 states that matter to me now. Born and raised in Illinois. I lived in a building on 3rd Street across from the Women's YWCA in Alton, Illinois on 3rd Street. And this building that I lived in, literally, I was the only Black person in the building. Quaint, historical. It was the building, hold two aspects of being historical. The main one is that this is where the Underground Railroad was a place of freedom for slaves coming from the south up to the north. And they came to this particular house. I don't recall the name of it off the top of my head, but it used to serve as an asylum Salem at one point. Very historical. And I lived at the very top of the building, and just a great loft type apartment. It was a great apartment in terms of the space and panoramic view of Alton, the river. And if you're from Alton, y'all know what I'm talking about. I digress, but I got a point to make. I lived in a building where artifacts were still left. The owner at the time when I lived there, the first owner, Mr. Van Port, I probably chopped his name up, but in short, he gave me a tour. He told me about the building and what it represented, and I'm like, of course I want to see it. And I remember going down there to the basement, and inside of the basement, there was this tunnel. You had to go through another part of the building, and there was this tunnel. And within this tunnel, half of it was, a portion of it was sealed off, totally bricked up, stones and stuff like that. And then I saw these artifacts. Chains, bowls, spoons. And I thought to myself, I knew that in the building that if I wasn't the first Black person, I was just probably a handful, if that, that lived in that building all those years, throughout the years, rather, because clearly, you know how old the building is, right? Slavery. So fast forward, um, here we are on June 19th, and our nation is in a civil unrest uprising with Black Lives mattering. And then you get white folks, Asians, Latinos, Middle Easterns, Native Americans, you name it, Indians from India, various Asians, the rainbow, different countries coming together to want to help bring a stop to the injustice that is taking place in America. And this being a day, Juneteenth, and how that all happened. Of course, I'm looking here at my notes as it relates to President Lincoln. Just a little side note, I used to think that President Lincoln was my uncle. I'll tell you about that story later. But in short, my grandfather and him favored. And, I was a super small, tiny something other. I think I was in like first or second grade. And it was show and tell. Y'all remember show and tell at Godfrey? And I took this President Lincoln, in the memorial there, and he's in that statue, or he's in the memorial in DC, and he's sitting in that chair. And there was a little miniature bank with him sitting in there. And I know it now what it is, but back then I just thought, oh, that's grandpa's brother, because they favored. Fast forward, clearly that wasn't the case when I look at the numbers, but here it is. President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation in January of 1863, stating henceforth shall be free. But the word hadn't reached to the slaves in the Confederate areas, Texas. Now I'm in Dallas, Texas. Can you believe that? It's totally God, by the way, that I'm here. And then for 2 years, the rest of the nation was set free. However, certain parts of once again, the Confederate areas, particularly Texas and some other areas, and I don't know the full scoop, so don't hold me to it, but I'm just going by my notes that I saw out there on the Google internet. And for over 2 years, they didn't know they were free, because the Confederate people was like, "No, we ain't gonna tell you, and we're gonna make you work." So here it comes, Union General Gordon Granger, hope I said that right, arrived in Galveston, Texas with an order, and this was on June 19th, 1865, stating, and I'm just paraphrasing, that they are now free and that former slave owners can now have a relationship as employer and basically employee. But that's about it. There's something that is happening in our nation, and it's happening globally. And some scholars, some very, but you ain't got to be even scholarly to see that something's happening here. And there's about to be The word comes to mind, uprising, something that we have not seen yet. It's certainly not in my generation. I don't know what that's going to entail and is going to look like, but there is a change that is coming, and there is recompense that is going to happen, is coming to Black people, Black folks here in these United States, unprecedented that we have never seen before. And you can tell something's going to go down by the resistance. And y'all, I don't have all the answers, but I just know in my spirit something is about to transform, something is about to break way. And I feel like it's almost like a woman who's having a baby that's about to give birth, and the birthing process is ultra painful and utterly messy. And before you can see this beautiful life that happens, you go through these incredible, intense experiences in your body for life to come out, for pain to happen, and excruciating pain, in order to give life to a beautiful soul, to a beautiful spirit known as a human being in the form of an infant baby. And I can guarantee you something is being birthed out of people that have had injustices as well as amazing accomplishments that have contributed to this country and to this world as a whole. They have benefited tremendously off of our strength, off of our brains, our mind, our abilities, our talent, our gifting, our intelligence. So I ask the question still, what is it, particularly about the Black man, that the world is afraid of? Okay, we all know that in broadcasting you don't have dead air, but I have to hold space for that. What is it? That kind of greatness, that kind of intelligence, type of strength, endurance that our Black men and us Black women, our children, we carry. And if we could all choose, I said choose to come together. And I love what I'm seeing, because, at first I was like, this is interesting. All the white people done is protesting. I thought it was for a day. And it kept going. Okay, this is interesting. This is different. Then it turned into a week, and then a few more weeks, and it's like, okay, so this is just Cass talking. And then I wonder, okay, so this is good, but what's going on here? Is it, yeah, you really mean it? And I'm sure there are those who do, and then you got some folks that was just planted to do foolishness on both sides. There was foolishness going on, but I believe it's some planters up in the piece too. I just believe it. But then the weeks have continued, and now we're at a place that, you're not going to do that every day, all day, throughout the day. if you don't believe in change. And so there's some white people that are choosing to band together and to stand, if you will, alongside of a fight that has been here since we have come to this country. And I thank God, yes, I do, for the United States of America. I thank God I am born in the U.S. I do. I don't think I'm better than anybody else because, if it was left up to me, I'd have been cool in the Caribbean. I would have been just cool. Just put me in Jamaica. I'm in the grill. I'm good. Belize, Rio de Janeiro, I'm good, minus the food. I'm good. I like it. But I'm born here in the United States, in a freedom state. And now I'm in a state that waited 2 years later after President Abraham Lincoln said emancipate, set the slaves are now free. And then 2 years later, over 2 years later, then the word gets finally to the folks here in Texas and other Confederate-like areas about the freedom. They had to do it. And here I am in Texas. That's not by coincidence, and it's something more to it than that. And I'm going to seek the face of God regarding that. So, in short, I'm choosing my Freedom Day, Juneteenth. And wherever your Freedom Day starts is your Freedom Day. Today may be your day. Yesterday might have been your day. Last week, a month ago, 2 years ago, 2 days from now, 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, 2 years from now, wherever your Freedom Day is, you make sure you get your Freedom Day and you stay free. And the first free is in here, in your mind and in your heart. Don't get bitter. Get better. And I'm telling you, this past week and last week, I don't know what has been going on up in here, sir. Something's going on up in this heart area, and I'm checking myself. I'm praying. I'm talking. I'm talking out loud. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to people. Because this is something I've never dealt with before. But it's certainly something I'm not going to back off from either. So, y'all, that's all I have today. I hope that somewhere you found it empowering. Cindy Lou, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. You holding a space for me. Yes, and know that I'm holding a space for you too, sis. I appreciate you. Just your comment here. We were talking about being in transition recently. It does feel like we're in the shaking time of birth for sure. I concur. It really is, man. It's like something all up in here. I can't even explain it, but I'm going to pray into it because I need some help. It's time to choose to come together to stand for one another. Yes. And that's my whole thing. Let's stand together. Let's have the right motives. Let's have a vision and a strategy, as Dr. Will Moreland said last week. We need strategy. And we need our hearts fixed and it's nothing wrong with, because right now, people are venting. People are hurt. I mean, I'm feeling some type of way right now that I'm questioning, like, girl, what's going on? I'm doing some heart check because I'm like, what's going on? And I think it's just enough is enough and enough. And I also believe that this is part of my purpose. I know it is, to help bring together nations. Nations of people, various ethnic backgrounds. And the thing about that is I've been knowing this since I was a little girl, wasn't even exposed to all of this, y'all. But I know in my heart that that's one of the things I'm supposed to do. That's purpose. I don't know what all that looks like, but I'm going to do my part. Oh, man, Cindy Lou, you about to take me out the game, and I only have a throw cloth. But I think I'll probably go down anyway. So hold on, I'm coming back. Oh, okay, I'm back. Yes, yes, I do. I've resonated with a few people in the Bible, David being one, Joseph being one, and definitely Esther. And I know that this is what that is. Woo, y'all. Oh, Yeshua. In case you don't know what I just said, I'm saying Jesus in Hebrew. Yeshua, 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 Yeshua. Okay? And when I say his name like that, I ultra mean it. And he know why I'm saying it. That's that calling on him for real. Yeah, you're right. You don't get bitter. You get better. And I don't choose to be bitter. But I have a righteous indignation. I mean, there is that thing. It's not the person. I'm looking past the person, and I'm really coming after that's that spirit. And I'm not the only one. So I'm not naive to think that I can take that all down. But I do know that it's gonna come down. Surely is. And I know some of y'all might be thinking, well, that's wishful thinking, CaSaundra. It's been around since time. Since, racism didn't start here in the United States. Y'all know that, right? My gosh. The Jewish people have suffered tremendously. Africans have suffered tremendously. Asians have suffered. Indians. Uh, Hispanics. My God, Native Americans. And if I missed you, please just charge it to my head, not my heart, because I don't know all of the nations. But I'm sure, certain European countries are fighting for their freedom as well, of course. Ireland, Scotland, Europe, parts of Europe. So everybody's fighting. Now it's just time to make sure that we get our freedom. And that's why I'm choosing to take my Freedom Day. Because it's more than just a day. It is a mindset. It is a heart set. It's a heart set. It is a heart set. It's a mindset. It's a belief set. It's a on purpose set. And I'm just choosing mine. And that's my lot. And I'm sticking to it. So thank you for watching. Join me next week. It's going to be an unusually great week. It's going to be a different type of shows next week, you guys. So I love you guys. Thank you for watching. Those of you who would like to share this, please do. Please, 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 please share that, because I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. And other people need to know that we see you. I see you. I accept you. I accept you. And I choose to love you, even though I don't know you. Because love is a decision of the heart, mind, and spirit. All right. I'll see you guys next week. Grace and peace.